food waste adding to global warming? Hello, I'm Rachel and you're watching kalkinemedia's Go Green series. Now, food waste is a persistent problem across the world. According to a recent UN report, in 2019, around 930 million tonnes of food sold that year ended up in dustbins, some parts not even attempted to be consumed. It is a known fact that almost 33% of the food which is produced for human consumption gets wasted or lost during production. Food waste negatively affects the environment, the economy, food security and the nutrition chain. Although most think that food is wasted in rich and developed countries, a new UN report called the Food Waste Index Report of 2021 found that it is common even in the poorest countries, though adequate data is not yet available. Around 1/3 of the food produced by different countries is wasted every year, which is around 1.3 billion tonnes and costs around $1 trillion. Going by continents, food wasted in Europe could feed 200 million people there, 300 million people in Latin America and 300 million people in Africa. The analysts highlighted that households throw away 11% of food at the consumption level of the supply chain, while food services and retail outlets discard 5 to 6% and 2% respectively. On a yearly basis, 7.3 million tonnes of food is wasted by households in the United Kingdom. And if we go by per capita waste, Europeans and North Americans waste 95 to 115 kilos of food a year. In Asian countries, it's between 6 and 11 kilos. Food wastage happens at each step of food processing. Around 85% happens in homes and consumer-centric businesses such as supermarkets, restaurants, manufacturers, distribution centres, schools, offices, hospitals and prisons, according to estimates done by ReFed. ReFed is a national non-profit working to end food loss and waste across the US. A McKinsey study found that household food wastage is responsible for 8 times the energy waste of farm-level food loss, as it adds energy utilised by the food supply chain and preparation. This wastage of food has substantial environmental, social and economic impacts. According to the UN report, this wastage adds up to 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. When we dump our food waste in the landfills, it starts decaying. The decomposition can sometimes happen in days, months, or even years. Once decomposition starts, the decaying food items start emanating methane into the air, which is a major greenhouse gas. A new joint study by UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, Columbia University and New York University highlighted that agriculture's greenhouse gas emissions are at about 1/5 of the total global greenhouse gas emissions. A 2018 study by Joseph Poor and Thomas Niemek found that almost 1/4, that's 24% of greenhouse gas emissions, come from food, which is lost in the supply chains. Poor storage and bad handling techniques of food accounts for 15% of food emissions. Besides a lack of cold storage, spoilage during processing and transportation adds another 9% of emissions. Food has different categories: unprocessed or minimally processed, processed, and the ultra-processed. Food like chips and cakes are ultra-processed and have a higher carbon footprint, whereas unprocessed, locally sourced foods have a relatively lower carbon footprint. A report by UK-based group WRAP showed that if food waste is removed from landfills, It will reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 25% in the UK, which is the same as taking away 25% of cars off British roads. According to the Executive Director of the UN Environment Programme, Inga Anderson, if countries across the world want to cut down on global warming and also to tackle climate change, nature and biodiversity loss, and pollution, everyone should work towards reducing food waste. Removing emissions from the food production cycle is a great challenge, as the agriculture sector is so vast and ways to decarbonise the system is complex. We need to change fertilisers and bring around a change in the food growing process. We also need to change our diets, reduce food wastage, choose low carbon food alternatives. Now, if you like this information, please like, share and comment on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Press the bell icon for notifications for our latest videos, and for more information log on to our website kalkinemedia.com. I'm Rachel, signing off for now.